and gentlemen, it is episode 190 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit, just 10 shows away from the big 200. It is Sunday, July the 16th, 2023, 6:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And tonight, Tony and I are going to be giving a show update, taking your questions. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Dave McCrae, coming to you live from the Voice Man Studios in Toronto, Canada. He's Tony Michael in Atlanta, Georgia. And lots to update you all on tonight. The show update, schedule update, taking your live questions. This is our first show in 48 years. And I'm going to put some gum in my mouth here. Tony, it's been a while. How are you?
I'm alive. I'm crawling out of my hole to make an appearance.
You are crawling out of your hole to make it. But listen, you have been a really busy guy. I mean, this is just, I mean, things are changing in your life, and all positive things, of course. And you've been really, really busy and
busy with work.
Yeah, with work and with the missus and new things are evolving for you and life changes and all that kind of stuff. And you know, what do you
as I start to get clammy hands thinking about it again.
Oh no! Is Chrissy watching tonight?
Probably.
Shout out to Chrissy. Shout out. Woo! No. But yeah, I mean, I just thought that, we do this show, give a show update, and, make it an all Q&A, see who the hell tunes in, see if anybody cares about us still. I mean, right. There could be some people that are like, you've been gone for too long.
These guys have been gone too long.
The moment has passed. We don't give a shit. And we just don't care. So see you later.
It's true.
It's entirely possible. The internet is fickle like that. Maybe I should just put Halloween in the title. Maybe that's what I should do. Right? Halloween! Oh my God!
Not even talk about it at all.
Not even talk. No, not at all. It's purely clickbait. 100%. Yeah, I'll own it. I'll make the thumbnail, Michael Myers, Halloween, Dr. Loomis, Jamie Lloyd on there, like this epic sort of stylized thumbnail. We don't even address it at all.
Exactly.
You just did that to get people to watch. Yes. Would you rather I say no? What am I going to say no?
At least we're honest.
At least we're honest. But let's start here. Let's start with you, my man. I mean, the viewers know what's been going on with me. So let's start with you. What has been going on in the life of Tony Michael over these last 3 months?
A lot of home remodeling, renovation, because I've got a new roommate effective next weekend. Full-time, no longer part-time. Mm-hmm. That's still taking a bit. Well, it's becoming more surreal as we're getting closer and closer. I mean, thankfully we've got all the history behind us, so I'm very confident in our success rate. But
right.
There's nerves, there's natural nerves. I was talking to her about it today. I was just like, man, I just don't want to fuck up. And she's like, what do you mean? I don't want to fail her. You know what I mean? I feel like, there's a lot of responsibility on my shoulders to make sure I take care of her, give her, like I said in my post, when I was in the process of the remodeling the bedroom and everything, I just want to give her a good home, a good life, be happy, simple. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to put stress on thankfully she's not a high maintenance girl, which takes a lot of pressure off me, but still at the end of the day, I just, I want to do right by her. I want to, like I said, give her a good home, give her a happy life and stuff. And, I'm fucking nervous that I'm going to fuck that shit up.
No, you're not going to fuck it up. Listen, as long as you guys communicate and you continue to communicate and, you're supportive of one another and you're there for each other and you set realistic, goals and things to achieve, I'm sure you'll be fine. I'm sure you'll be fine. You know what I mean? And like you said, you've known her for decades. So it's not like this is, it's not a situation where you know, I mean, obviously it's going to be different, but you know each other very well. You know each other's, you know, idiosyncrasies and you know, habits and personalities and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's that's a positive. That's a plus. And I congratulate you, man. I'm happy for you. And it's just the first step into a new journey.
The countdown of October of next year when we get married. So,
October 2024. Ooh, a Halloween wedding.
10, 11, 24. No, she wouldn't let me.
Well, it's
she
still
wouldn't let
season.
me. But trust me, I got something up my sleeve just so. Yeah, I'm not going to say it because she has no idea.
She could be watching right now.
Yeah, but I've got something up my sleeve to make sure that I get just a little bit of Halloween as a part of it, but nothing.
Well, maybe
nothing
she could come down the aisle to the Halloween theme.
Although there's been a really good compromise in like she's going to do an all black dress and I'm going to do an all black suit with no tie. So like just a nice suit
or an orange tie. Ooh.
No, I think she's going to go black on black,
okay.
You know, just very, you know, very simple, you know, but I was just like, all right, I'll do a suit for her. Cause like I was just thinking like, I'm going to wear fucking black jeans, a jean jacket and a fucking hat.
Right.
And I'm I probably shouldn't do that, you know, like put a little effort into it. So I sent her a picture today. I'm like, what do you think of this? And it's just a guy in a black suit, black on black. And she's like, yeah, that'll match my dress. So
perfect.
Yeah. Perfect. You know, but that's pretty much it. Other than that, it's just, I mean, if anyone's ever renovated or remodeled a home, it's a process. Yeah. It's time consuming. It takes up a lot of time. You know, and then plus, you know, my business has been doing very well. That's the other side of this. Like, you know, like, I think it's a good thing though. I don't think it's, you know, it's good motivation, you know, with her coming into the equation here and feeling that type of responsibility. I've been up in my game, recruiting new agents, getting out there, self-marketing and just, you know, really, you know, and I picked up 4 already. You know, that's so great. I'm just, you know, like I said, you know, I'm not trying to give us $1 million lifestyle. At the end of the day, I just want to be able to say, you know what, I took care of her. That's it. That's all I need to do. I don't need to do anything else. I took care of her, gave her a good life, and that's it.
Right.
So it's been very motivational to say, okay, shit's getting real. I can't just be slacking off anymore. And, you know, fucking got to get out there. And I had to basically, you know, start doubling what I'm doing right now for work. And my editor who's working with me, this dude he's been a lifesaver. You've seen what he's done.
Yeah. Yeah. He's great.
Fucking nuts at what he does. I mean, and my agents are loving it and you getting the referrals in and whatnot from agents who are seeing his work. Like other agents, like who did those pictures? And it's just like my guy, Tony, man, they're fucking insane. So
wait, your editor's name, Tony as well?
Yeah. Irony, right?
You guys should open up a law firm, Tony and Tony.
Tony. Yeah, we're here to serve.
That's it. That's hilarious.
So yeah, I mean, other than getting the home ready for her, and we still got a lot. You know, we're doing our painting. That's coming up soon. We're taking down a pool that's in the back right now with a deck that's been back there forever. I'm having that removed in like 2 weeks. I've got windows that need to be replaced and I've got a lot of stuff that I'm going to declutter outside of the garage so that I can put up my home gym because I'm going to, you know, work out from home now. I'm not going to go to the gym anymore. Just little things like that. And if anyone's ever done that, you know what I mean? Or combine lives together, you just know things are just, you know, you're merging, you know, 2 different lifestyles. So you know, it's kind of give and take of what I'm keeping. I've like thrown away so much shit. And then I still look around my office. I'm like, God damn, I still got a lot more shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you.
You know, yeah, you just, you know, I've got a lot of horror stuff that I'm like, do I want to sell this on eBay or, you know, what do I want to do? I don't know. You know, because it's just going to take up space, you know, because this will become our home. It's not just, you know what I mean? It's not just one-sided and whatnot. So
So, and because of that, because of, and again, all positive, you're renovating your home. The missus is moving in with you. You're getting married about, 15 months from now in October 2024. Yeah. There's a lot going on. So obviously that means that the schedule of Two Dudes, which was for many years, once a week, when we first started, it was once a week every Sunday at, I think it was 7 when we first began.
When we first started, yeah, that's right.
And then for the last couple of years, it's been every Monday. I mean, sometimes not, depending on what's happening in our lives, but that was the regular sort of schedule, was every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, and we were doing that for a couple of years. But now the show is going to change a little bit because of, at least for a short while you get this organized, you go through the renovation, she moves in, you got, there's a lot going on in your life, and you're getting busier right now in your profession as well. So there's a lot going on. So it will be, so we're going to be moving the show from Monday nights back to Sunday night, correct? I believe
and it could fluctuate on a given week too, depending on if you're available on, you know what I mean? Like
100%.
For now, that's what we're rolling with. But there could be a time where like, hey, Dave may be off with his girl on a Sunday or some shit where we like, well, how does your Monday look or something like that? So,
right. Yeah. Exactly. And that's fine. And that's, totally fine. Right. So, So right now, expect it Sunday or Monday, either one of those 2 days, you know what I mean? Kind of thing. And then of course it'll be probably, instead of every week, we're looking at maybe twice a month we're going to try and do. Twice a month.
Yeah, we're going to try to, for sure, I'm going to commit to that. I know we can do that, and I've talked with her about that as well too. And that was, she understood. She's fine with it, but like I said, if anyone's ever done this, it's a lot, it is a lot of stuff that you're doing. So for the intern, rather than just not, and just being off for like, another 6-7 months, whatever it takes, and then there could be a stretch where me and Dave get 2-3 in a row or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Where it's like, hey, it's, we're not so bad. We're not doing anything. I don't have anything, cause it's not just her too, cause she has kids as well too. There's that factor. So there could be, there could be events that she's, got to go to. And that's part of my life now, you know what I mean, that I need to go and do and things like that. So, it's not like we're going to stop. It's not like we're, it's gonna, inconsistent, but consistent.
Yes. Consistently inconsistent as well.
Consistently inconsistent.
Yeah. So we're going to do it as often as we can. And usually it'll be Sunday or Monday nights at 6:00 p.m. Eastern time. And it'll be for the immediate foreseeable future while Tony navigates this life-changing experience, having the missus
like
move
next
in with
weekend.
him.
We're not going to be doing anything because she's literally moving in next weekend.
Right,
so,
exactly.
And all week this week is getting ready, and so that's
it. That's it. That's exactly.
And then we'll
it.
see, like with the first week here after next week, going into the following weekend, I'll communicate with Dave and see how that's going and whatnot, and but we're not like vanishing for good. It's just like Dave said, consistently inconsistent is what we're going to
consistently inconsistent for a while while things change in Tony's life, because it's incredibly important. It's exciting. And obviously you want to be able to feel that you can put the attention that it needs into this new thing that is happening, which of course is the most important thing. So that's completely understandable. I have no doubt you have the support from everybody in the chat and from all the viewers and everybody that watches us, for sure. 100%, no doubt about that. And I'm excited for you. I'm proud of you. And I think it's going to be great. Let me see. All right. Now I feel like I'm going to sneeze. Okay, here we go.
Bless you.
Woo! Okay, good. So yes. Oh, hang on. It's going to happen again. Always comes in twos. Wait, it's kind of there. It's kind of not. No, it didn't happen. God damn it. Don't you hate when you're on the cusp of one and then it just doesn't work? Too bad. Cody Snyder sends in $5, says, we are back. Thank you very much, Cody. Appreciate that very much. Let me see here. And then Sean Sheridan sent in €2 and says, are you James Bond fans? And I'm not a James Bond fan.
I've never watched one.
There you go.
There you go. So, never watched one.
So yeah, I've watched the Daniel Craig and the Pierce Brosnan ones, and I've seen a couple of the Roger Moore ones, but I'm not a fan, but I wouldn't say that I'm a fan or anything like that. So, all right. So let's jump over to the Q&A, to the chat room, and see what you all are saying. We're back. Here we are. We don't know when we'll be back again, but this is episode 190, and we thought that we would just take it light and make it an all Q&A. The next time we come back, we'll definitely have a topic, but we thought we would, start the questions. Get those questions in. Get those super chats in. Get those risque photos in. Whatever it is. Whatever you want to send in. Whatever you want to send in. Let's do it. Now, Tony, have you seen the great movies lately? I saw that you saw Mission Impossible. You posted about that. I really like that.
Oh, freaking. Well, here's the thing. I liked the first mission. I was like meh on the second, and the third one. Like they were meh, but since Tom Cruise did Ghost Protocol, from that jump point to now, I have never in my life seen a movie franchise actually get fucking better in its sequels. Its fucking sequels. You know what I mean? Like it just gets better. And this one, it's just what I like about this one, kind of like with Top Gun Maverick. It's a throwback to just good action, fun popcorn movie. Doesn't take itself seriously. It doesn't interject anything else that's going on in the world, with the narrative and the story they're telling. They're just out there having you could tell they're having fun making this film.
Right.
And Tom Cruise, man, that motherfucker, dude, he's got balls of steel.
Keeps going.
Just keeps going. And he's 61 years old.
61,
and man, it's like, what the hell, bro? But yeah, like for me, I don't know where I put this yet. I mean, I've seen a lot of people say this is the best since the Ghost Protocol starting point. That's tough to say because I do like Ghost Protocol. What was the one in between Fallout and Ghost Protocol? Fuck, I'm trying to blank.
Rogue Nation. I really liked Rogue Nation a lot. That was a really fucking good one. So I haven't really figured out like where does this sit in this, because the villain in I think the villain in Rogue Nation, he's been Ethan's best, adversary so far in the franchise, right?
In my opinion, anyways. And I don't know. We'll give it time. And I need to see it again to kind of let it. I'm trying not to say anything too because it just came out. So I don't want to obviously ruin it for anybody. But if you want to see a good action movie, go fucking see it. It's so good.
Well, it's funny because I saw the first Mission Impossible years ago. I haven't seen it in probably over 20 years. And I got to admit, I haven't seen any of the others. I have not seen Mission Impossible 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. It's not because I don't want to see them. I just never get around to watching them. I want to watch them, but now I'm going to have a day where I have just a gigantic Mission Impossible marathon.
I think you can skip 2 and 3. And if you start at 4 and go through, you're going to have a good time. Yeah, you know what I mean? Honestly, you're not missing anything when you start with Ghost Protocol.
But you want to know something? As much as J.J. Abrams gets shit on because, people like to shit on J.J. Abrams when it really was Rian Johnson that destroyed the sequel trilogy. But anyway, that said, J.J. Abrams directed Mission Impossible 3.
He did.
And it was that movie that actually, if it wasn't for that movie, see, the one directed by John Woo was part 2. And that movie critically didn't do very well.
No.
And it kind of was a big step down from part 1. And people were really worried. And if Mission Impossible 3 had not been pretty good, like a lot better than 2, we might not have gotten Ghost Protocol in 2011. Because if Mission Impossible 3 had been like Mission Impossible 2, both 2 stinkers kind of back to back, there may not have been a Ghost Protocol. So
he was at a weird place in his career too, if I remember. Now I know when talking about War of the Worlds with people, it's hit or miss. I like it.
I like it too.
You know what I mean? Like I enjoy it. And like, honestly, of the Spielberg movies, between that and Jaws, that he's directed, obviously, I still need to see the one here recently that he did that you keep telling me about. The one that you tell me I'm gonna love.
Ready Player One.
That one.
Ready Player.
I haven't seen that yet. But I do love. I actually really like War of the Worlds. I watched it the other day because it became available. I don't know if it was on Max or if it was on Paramount.
Yeah,
Plus.
it's good.
One of the two.
It's good.
It's a good flick.
Yeah,
I know some people don't like it.
No, they don't.
You know, they don't like Tom Cruise in the part, but it's fine. You know, obviously it's got a young Dakota Fanning in it as well.
Very
too.
young, yeah. Well, the movie was 2005, I believe.
Yeah. So, and that was at a point in Cruise's career where, you know, he was with Katie Holmes and, you know,
jumping on Oprah's couch.
Yeah, you know, and that we all were finding out about the Scientology stuff and, you know, it is what it is and, you know, whatever. But when he hit with Ghost Protocol, that kind of set him back on track. And,
it did.
You know, whatever. But, you know, the thing with Cruise is this, and I give the guy credit, and I know he's doing one last one here. I still, you know, he sometimes sells himself short a little bit too in the dramatic roles because he's really good in A Few Good Men. He's really good in The Firm. The Firm, right?
Yeah, it's The Firm.
The Firm. Yeah, The Firm. Yeah. Far and Away is a pretty solid flick, you know. So he's done very good. You know, he doesn't always need to do like Days of Thunder, although I love Days of Thunder, or Cocktail, which is a fun, you know, classic movie where he's playing like kind of the hero-esque type character arc. You know, the dramatic roles that he's done very well. So it's going to be interesting to Rain Man, fucking Rain Man.
Rain Man's great
movie. So it'll be interesting to see after he does part 2 for Dead Reckoning, what he's going to do after that, you know, because I know he's going to still act. I mean, he's obsessed with it like Clint Eastwood. I fully expect Cruise to be doing shit. As long as his heart is beating, I expect him to do stuff.
Tom Cruise will either die in a stunt or continue to act until he's dead.
Till he's dead, exactly. You know, like, and I respect it. I think Eastwood's directing another movie as we speak.
Yeah, he's like 94 or whatever. He is.
94,
but he's looking rough.
He is. But you know what? I just watched that. What just became available on Netflix, which was The Mule.
The Mule. That was
good.
Yeah.
I mean, it was tough seeing Clint at that age, but and it's tough to believe him to be this kind of tough guy. But you know, it's
I know.
Still good.
I know.
What else have the only thing I watched the new episodes of Yellowstone. I haven't watched much for films though. Honestly, I haven't really been keeping up with what's going on. I feel like I'm kind of, other than like, I know what's going on with you with, you know, It's Me, Billy, that you guys hit your mark and Dylan's New Nightmare. You know, I haven't been paying attention to anything of, you know, what's out there.
Did you happen to watch Wednesday, the series Wednesday with Jenna Ortega?
Yeah. I watched that months ago when that came out.
I just watched it like a month or two ago and I loved it. I thought it was great. I know I'm not the demographic, but
no, it was good.
But I loved it. It was like Harry Potter meets Stranger Things kind of vibe. And I thought Ortega was fantastic in the role. I think I think she's great. I think she just fucking owned that role like it was nobody's business, made it her own. And I really enjoyed it. Again, obviously I'm not the target demographic, but I enjoyed the Harry Potter meets Stranger Things kind of vibe of the show. And I quite enjoyed it. So I'm very much looking forward to season 2 of Wednesday. Well, when they can actually, you know, right now everything's shut down, of course. The Beetlejuice 2, well, they're shooting Beetlejuice 2 with Jenna Ortega. And not at the moment, that would have been shut down, but they got to get, because of the SAG-AFTRA strike.
There's a strike.
Oh.
This is how out of the fucking loop I am. There's a strike.
Yeah. So the WGA.
Who's striking?
Okay, so the WGA, which is the Writers Guild of America, went on strike in May. So that's all the unionized writers.
I remember hearing something like that back. So they're still okay.
They're still. Yes, exactly. So that now that's one section of the entertainment industry. That's bad enough when your writers go on strike. But there is so much backlog of things already in the vault and stuff that the WGA can be on strike for a while and stuff can still get made because, as I said, there's still things that are complete. Now, when SAG-AFTRA goes on strike, which is the Screen Actors Guild, AFTRA is the American Federation of Radio and Television Artists. They used to be two unions up until about 2012. Then they merged. It's one union. People just always refer to it as SAG, but technically it's SAG-AFTRA. And that's the Screen Actors Guild. So when the Screen Actors Guild goes on strike, that's all your actors. So everything shuts down. So the
sets just sit in this town in Vermont and don't do anything?
They just stop. They have to stop.
Do they pay the people though? Because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they have a facade that's in front of a storefront of someone's business. How do they work that out with the people?
That would be worked out. I mean, that might be taken down temporarily or, whatever. Right.
Because I have seen some of the set photos of Beetlejuice too.
Yeah. So now that's obviously a union gig with union actors and all that kind of stuff with SAG members. And that is a major motion picture. So that definitely is not going forward. Stranger Things season 5 right now, which hasn't started shooting yet.
These kids are going to be fucking collecting Social Security by the time they finish.
But I do want to say, and I want to say this again, because I keep seeing, not necessarily in my circles, but I do see it online. And this is just the ignorance of not knowing, really anything about it. And I don't say that in a bad way. It's true. If you don't know anything about how it all works, then you might think it might be this. I see a lot of people saying, these fucking rich actors, they're going on strike. Why do they need more money? And I did a video the other day and I see lots of people who know about this talking about this. Only 1% of SAG are your movie stars. Okay. SAG-AFTRA, represents over 150,000 union members. The vast majority of SAG members are not your movie stars. Brad Pitt and Harrison Ford and Tom Cruise have not gone on strike. It's not the movie stars. Harrison Ford and Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise could live probably for the next 20 years with a strike and it wouldn't make a dent in their net worth. Okay. I mean, it's not them. This is about, all the other actors, the 98, 99% of actors who are your character actors, your supporting actors, everybody else, guy number 2, friend number 5, I mean, all these actors that are getting duped and gypped by the studios. But it's important that the movie stars support and go on strike with them, which they are all now. Everybody's on strike. When SAG goes on strike, your Brad Pitts, your Harrison Fords, they have to go too. But it's important because the studios don't care about, Billy Bob, who's a SAG member, who's been in major movies, who's a supporting character actor, who maybe only makes, $80,000 a year. They don't care about him, but they give a fuck when the movie stars goes on. They go they care when the Ortegas and the Anistons and the Cruzes and all these, they care when they're not working because they're the people that bring in the money. They're the names on the marquee. So that's why you'll often see movie stars or well-known actors speaking out and being interviewed, because without their voices, the little guy wouldn't have a voice, because the studios don't care about the 99% of, they don't care. The other thing, of course, that they're fighting against is AI, and a specific thing, and this is the tip of the iceberg, that there was a stipulation in one of the offers that the studios want to be able to scan background members' likeness and image. Now, let's say you get cast, Tony, in a role as a background, performer, okay? And you will get paid for that day. You get a day rate. Maybe it's like, I don't know, $300 or something, whatever it is. You'll get that, but they want to be able to scan your image and your likeness and digitally vault it for future use and never have to pay you ever. Never pay you again for your likeness. Nothing.
what's his name did a big thing back in the 80s when that happened to him during Back to the Future to avoid from that ever happening again. What's his name there?
Oh, well, Crispin Glover.
Crispin Glover,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Didn't that same thing happen to him with Back to the Future Part 2?
Well, yes, but he
More or
wasn't a
less.
background performer. It was about his likeness, but that was about makeup. They made up the actor to look like him, right? And
Right.
he was fighting on behalf of himself, not necessarily on behalf of everybody.
Okay.
But yeah, but it's a similar thing. I would say it's a cousin of that. But this is about, they want to be able to scan background performers' image and likeness, only pay you once, use your face and your likeness and image for the rest of your life without paying you a fucking cent. Fuck that. That's not how this
batshit
fucking,
crazy.
that's dog shit. And so that's nuts. That's not, and that's just one thing that is part of the issues that SAG is fighting against the studios with. It's a big deal. And so I just want people to understand that it's not about, Tom Cruise isn't complaining that he's not getting paid enough. Okay. It's not about the movie stars. Now they do have issues they have issues about AI. They have issues with residuals because with streaming, it's a whole different ball game. You see, with network television and all that kind of stuff and movies that would air on TV, there's commercials and there's many ways you can get, residual checks and all that kind of stuff. With streaming, it's a very different ball game. So definitely there are high profile actors that are wanting to work out this streaming residual thing, and the streaming services don't want to pay residuals, but the actors are like, fuck, yeah, and all this kind of stuff. So obviously they have their own issues, but this isn't a strike about movie stars who don't think they're being paid enough. That's too.
Yeah, that's why I don't really voice my opinion on this, because I don't know enough to, you know what I mean? Like it's not my backyard, so I don't really know.
Sure, yeah, the vast majority of people don't know, and I see them to fucking movie stars, actors. It's like, that's not what this is. Listen, just the vast majority of actors are not movie stars. The vast majority of actors have to have another job and act as well. When you become a SAG member, it doesn't mean you're a movie star. It means you got booked onto a union project where you probably had a line or two. And then here in Canada, the union here in Canada is ACTRA, okay, which stands for the Alliance of Canadian Cinema, Television, Radio Artists, okay? We're not on strike up here, thank goodness. But we support what's going on down there. With ACTRA, okay, in order to become a full member with ACTRA, and I'm pretty sure it's similar with SAG, okay, but I definitely can speak to ACTRA, but it would be similar in the States. In order to become a member, you would first get booked onto a union project with a line or a speaking role of some sort, and then that's one credit. And you are then allowed to become what's called an apprentice member. So you're not a full member yet, okay, but you become an apprentice member. And you got to pay into that and pay, all that kind of stuff. And then you have to get booked on 2 more union projects, okay, to become a full member of ACTRA. But that doesn't mean you're a movie star. You can be guy number 1 who has one line. You can be the best friend who's on screen for 8 seconds, who's got, a couple of lines, and you become a full member. You're a working actor. And that's the vast majority of ACTRA and SAG. The vast majority are not your Brad Pitts and your Harrison Fords. It's 1% to 2%. So that's why when you see people picketing and you see the SAG members, picketing, and that's why you see them. That's why you don't recognize any of them. Look at all the picketers outside of Warner Brothers going, no. Did you recognize? No, you might recognize. Oh, look, there's Sean Astin. Oh, look, there's so-and-so. But look at everybody else. You don't recognize them, do you? Of course not, because they're not movie stars, but they're working actors who work in movies and in streaming television shows. And so I just, as an actor, as a professional actor myself, I need to hammer that home, because I think it's very important, because I see a lot of people thinking this is about movie stars complaining they're not making enough money. That's not what this is about. That's not what this is about. So please educate yourself on the details before you start spewing nonsense online. Just have to say that.
Did you
but that's a big thing right now.
Did you see your boy Indy?
I haven't seen Indiana Jones yet. I know. I just been so busy with Dylan's New Nightmare and the ending of the campaign for Billy Chapter 2, which, by the way, like I said in my video the other day, we are a union project, and the strike does affect us. However, because we are not for profit and because we are not associated with any of the studios, we are essentially not who SAG is fighting against. SAG does have options for independent producers and productions such as ourselves. So it's possible that, and actually very likely, that if the strike is still going by the time we have to go to camera, we will still be able to go to camera, even though we are using SAG members, because we are not Blumhouse, Universal, Sony, Netflix, all that kind of stuff. So that's, thank goodness. Deadline did an article on that the other day. So I just want to say that for people who might be curious. But it does affect us, but it looks like we have options. So, but no, I haven't seen Indy yet. Have you seen Indy?
No. That's your movie.
Well, no.
The only new releases that I've seen is just the new Mission, and that's it. I have yet to see Guardian of the Galaxy 3. I'll get around to it. Eventually I'll work my way around to Indiana Jones. Gotcha. What was the other one that came out in between Guardians and Indy? Flash, which unfortunately didn't really do too well.
No, Indy hasn't done well. Flash hasn't done well. Did you see Flash? No. I'm surprised you didn't, because Michael Keaton's your boy.
Keaton. I know. I just didn't get a chance.
I hear you.
And I will, though. I am excited to see Oppenheimer. I've been just in a dark hole lately on YouTube, just learning about the Manhattan Project and everything that was going on at that time during World War II. Very fascinating shit. It's Christopher Nolan, arguably one of the best directors in the last 20 years, if not the best. I love the fact that he's giving us original content, you know what I mean? And he just, and I know some of his films are hit or miss with people. I know a lot of people didn't like Tenet. I have not Tenet. Some shit, like I call it Tenet, but I know it's
Tenet, I think, like Tenet, something like that.
Yeah, I know that's kind of that's a divisive one. What was his other one? The war one that he did.
Oh, Dunkirk.
Dunkirk. Yeah, that's another one that's had kind of split. Inception obviously is a lot of his. Interstellar. Interstellar is probably my favorite Nolan film. I love it's space. It's anything to do with space. Yeah. I'm a big nerd on. Obviously his Batman films. For the Batman fans. But this
Memento was one of his first.
Memento, right?
Insomnia. I love Insomnia. There's an underrated Nolan movie.
Yeah. So I mean, he's I like to think of him maybe not so much in the he's doing it his own way. Whereas Kubrick had a very his stylistic approach to filmmaking was like creating a scene that looks like a photograph, whether he's using rules of third or leading lines or or negative space, because he was a photographer before he became a filmmaker. That's right. So he utilized a lot of principles and rules to photography in his filmmaking. Nolan doesn't necessarily take that approach that Kubrick did, but it's very stylistic to Christopher Nolan's style, and there is definitely, when you're watching a Christopher, especially now, and it obviously has evolved over time, but when you're watching a Christopher Nolan film, you're watching a Christopher. It's going to be layered, and
it's like Spielberg. There's an identity to the piece, the way it's shot, the way it feels. I want to see Oppenheimer for sure. It looks really good, and I really
and I'm glad to see Cillian Murphy get his due. I mean, he's long Talk about someone who is long overdue to get a leading role. That motherfucker, because he's awesome. I don't know if you ever see Peaky Blinders on Netflix.
I haven't, no.
Oh, it's so good.
Is it good?
And he's really good in that. I've always, Cillian Murphy, I've never, like whether he's playing, like in Inception, he's not necessarily the lead, but he's obviously an integral part to the story of the guy that DiCaprio is trying to, they're trying to plant the seed to, do what they need to do and whatnot. And Dunkirk, I don't think he had a big role in that. I can't remember. But anyways, the point is I'm glad to see that, that Nolan trusted him to say, hey, man, I'm going to, put this on your shoulders. And it's also good to see the actors around him, really support him, like Downey Jr. and
for sure
Emily Blunt and Matt Damon really getting behind his performance and backing him up. So long overdue, and I'm really excited to see what he does.
I just hope this strike. I everything I'm hearing, it's possible this strike could last till the end of the year. Which would be devastating, because during a SAG-AFTRA strike, actors are not allowed to promote any movies, do any talk shows, do any promotional, press junkets, attend film festivals, attend premieres, do anything. Like it literally, the industry shuts down. When actors go on strike, the industry shuts down. And nothing gets made and nothing moves. And that's why it's imperative that a deal gets made. But yeah, like I suspect that we'll eventually soon, not tomorrow, but eventually soon begin to see release dates of certain movies
being pushed out.
For sure. Depending on how long this thing goes on. Super chat comes in from Akeem Patterson, sends in $4.99 and says, as someone who works for Walt Disney Studios, I'm shocked at the comments our CEO Bob Iger has said. Truly hurtful. Bob Iger said something about how, he just said that he said that he felt that the actors are I'm paraphrasing, but that the actors' demands or the negotiations were so far apart, were unrealistic.
Bob
Iger, the CEO of Disney, and it was, and I get it. I think that anytime somebody who is making $30 million a year, and has or no, it's more than that, I think. Anyways, who's making many millions of dollars a year and is worth hundreds of millions of dollars, start saying that they feel that actors who, are making $50,000 a year or sometimes even, $10,000 a year, are out of touch, I think is...
I didn't even know who that was until you just said it now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Bob Iger. Yeah, he's the CEO of Disney. And so...
I'm horrible.
No, listen, I
just don't pay attention to stuff like that.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Yeah. No, it's not, it doesn't, that's it. Right. Yeah. But I think, I get why people are upset. I get why the actors would feel insulted by that, for sure. But there are certain things it's a historic strike because, they need to, years and years ago, back in, I forget when this SAG was formed, was it the 20s or 30s, something like that. The studios didn't want that. They did. Of course, they don't want, we don't want a union with actors and all the fight and all that kind of stuff. But they did. I think it was the strike in the 60s, if I'm not mistaken, that fought for health benefits. Like right now, if you're, a member of SAG or any acting union, like ACTRA, whatever, you get health benefits. You get, a pension, and, you get to pay into your benefits. That wasn't there before 1960, I don't think. And one of the strikes, or the strike, I think in 1960, I believe part of the fight was to get benefits, and now they have it. And here we are with another historic strike in terms of AI and streaming. I don't like AI. And all this kind of stuff.
I'm not a fan of
it's
AI. It's
scary. Well, like anything, it can be a wonderfully useful tool, but it will be abused. It will be abused. Humans are scud-sucking pieces of shit that are, and I'm talking about the people in power, the hungry, money hungry, people. Listen. the deep fake, all this kind of stuff. I mean, let's not be so stupid and naive to think that it's all just going to be used for funny TikTok videos and Tom Cruise deep fakes. It's not. It's being used by governments and warfares to frame people, to put people at the scene of it's already being used like this, whether it's artificial intelligence.
That's why I got tattoos.
There you go. Well,
first thing I'm going to be like, oh, really? Well, let me see the tattoos. Oh, none? Okay.
Well, and hey, but hey, if they take your digital scan, they'll take those tattoos with them.
Oh, I know. That's why I'm not doing that shit.
No, and that's why it's like, you know, we have to nip this in the ass now. Because if we don't, you know, people are just so distracted by stupid TikTok videos and Tom Cruise deep fakes. No, this is all kind of fun, but it's fucking scary shit. It's scary ass shit.
It's treading on some dangerous grounds that we shouldn't be doing.
100%. And so you need people to speak out and fight about this. It's like, hang on a sec. You want to scan somebody's image, pay them $300 for the day, scan their image and put it into the closet that you can use their image and likeness in perpetuity forever without having to pay them? What the fuck planet do you think you're fucking on? Get the fuck, are you insane? Are you like, that's ridiculous. Who the hell would agree to that? But it's in there. Right, it's in there, and it's, you know, and they're hoping you do, and they go, great, no, because they want to save money. They don't want to have to pay background actors forever. Think of all the money we can save. We pay them once, we'll give them the day rate of $300. We'll scan 500 of these background actors, and then we can just use them in any fucking movie and TV show we want without ever paying you again. Fuck you. Like, no way, man. That's insane. You wouldn't stand. Anybody in the chat room now, would you be okay with that? Your face and likeness is being used forever for a measly $300? I don't think so. No, you'd want to get paid every fucking time your face was out there. How are they going to use your face? You don't get a say. How are they going to use your image? You don't get a say. No, you sell your soul over. You sell your face and image over. Fuck that. That's only the tip of the iceberg of what this SAG-AFTRA strike is about. So it's huge. It's big. It's important. It's scary shit.
That's Aaron, that's a very good point. He mentions how, and it's true, the new Mission Impossible movie revolves around, the story revolves around AI. So it's basically, like he's saying, it's mirroring real life, which it is fucking scary. It is really, like, I don't want to spoil it for anybody because it just came out, but when you watch it, you're going to be like, bro, this is hitting too close to home.
Yeah, well, that's my point. I mean, look at the new Black Mirror episode of Joan is Awful, or like whatever the hell that is.
Is that the one with Josh Hartnett?
No, it's with Selma Hayek.
Black Mirror. Okay.
Oh, Black Mirror is like it's like a Twilight Zone. It's like an anthology series, and each episode has like
different actors.
Yep. And
because I think Josh Hartnett did one, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know. He might have. I'm not sure. I haven't seen him in one, I don't think, but anyway, no, look, there's a lot of scary shit that's happening, and the vast majority of us don't care because we're too distracted by other things, and that's what they want. They want you to be, so they can just slip it under the radar. And SAG looked at this and was like, oh, the background actors, wait, what? I don't think so. But here's the thing: if SAG had agreed to it, then the background performers wouldn't have a say. It's either you do it and you get scanned, or you don't do it and you don't. It's just like, how can you make a living how can I make a living as a background performer, right? Because listen, there are people out there. Not everybody wants to be a movie star. Not everybody wants to be, you know, a character actor. There are people out there that make a living being a background performer. Not a multi-million-dollar, you know, Brad Pitt living, but you know, they're in a, you know, they get in there, they, you know, hustle, and they're in a bunch of movies. And you know, so how does a background performer make a living as a background actor if they only got to be in one movie and get scanned and that's it? Okay, you're out of here, punk. See ya. Take a hike. You know, now we own you. And it's like, what? You know, like, it's Jesus. And again, that's only one part of the AI, you know, problem. As a voice actor,
that's why I don't really use much for social media, because I don't know where these shit. Where when you take your pic, like on Instagram, I just have my real estate account and I just share houses. That's it. And then on Facebook, barely share anything. Barely, you know, because I don't know what's going on out there, and it's just getting a little bit too surreal.
Yeah.
For my liking anyways.
It is, and and as a voice actor, I'm seeing it in voiceover. I mean, obviously AI, and the artificial voices that are now being used and this kind of stuff. And like I said, I mean, I've said this before, but I have a voiceover friend named Bev Standing, and her voice was used without her permission as the voice of TikTok for a little while, and she filed a lawsuit. They settled out of court. I don't know for how much. I didn't ask her. It's not my business anyway. But they settled, and her voice was removed and obviously replaced. But there you go. And it's like, what the fuck? It's like it's scary shit. And if we don't nip these things in the ass now, they will take it. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care. The studios don't give a shit about background performers. That's why they want to scan them and own them so they don't have to pay them every time they go on set. They don't care. You know what I'm saying? And again, I know I'm harping on that. That's just one thing. That's just one thing that they're fighting against. The residuals and the streaming is another thing. And there's other things too. And it's like, it's crazy stuff. Anyway, Josh McKenna sends in $19.99. Thank you very much, Josh. Very generous of you. And says, is tipping for everything a thing in Canada like it is in the States? I don't know how it is in Canada, but in the States, it's gotten to the point where people tip for coffee. I only tip at decent restaurants. Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, because you're a bigger country in terms of people, and there's, more, and so it's probably more widespread, but no, it's here too. It's here too. I'm
hoping this catches on. Matt and Trey Parker did something really smart with the restaurant that they own, creators of South Park. They've increased their wait staff to $30 an hour, and they've banned tipping in their restaurant.
So there you go.
No more tipping. I've never been a waiter, so I don't know how that, does that work? Does that help? I mean, I would guess if like you're a full-time waiter putting in at least minimally 40 hours a week at 30 an hour, I mean, that's a $1,200 paycheck,
well, it is. Shit. It is. And I mean, Tony and I, we're 44, so maybe we're a little old school, but I come from, the generation of you tip because you got great service. You don't tip just because the service exists, and I understand that we've moved in that direction. You saw it, I mean, I've had to start paying attention, but it's only because restaurants don't pay their wait staff. They pay them a lower wage because they inevitably get tipped. And it's like, well, it shouldn't be inevitable. Look, there are some people out there that will tip no matter what because the waiter is just there. And that's fine. And look, I've done that too, but you got to look at your bill, because what they will often do, or at least what they used to do, is they used to add the gratuity, like the tip into the bill, and hoping that you tip again. You know what I mean? Yeah. That used to happen too. And I think maybe they've tried to nip that in the ass now. I'm not sure, but no, it's like that here too, Josh. I mean, we have the same restaurants, the same, the same services, the same issues, and it's not that I don't believe that, but no, like to Tony's point, I think restaurants should pay their fucking wait staff, a living wage, and then because not everybody tips the same, and not everybody can tip. Just because somebody doesn't tip doesn't mean they're not a good person, or maybe they can't afford to tip.
Right. Well, and that's why I'm hoping maybe this thing that Matt and Trey Parker have started with their restaurant, maybe that will catch on, with other places, and really help waiters and waitresses out.
I hope so, because there's some good ones out there.
I don't really eat out very often. The only place I go to get takeout is at the pizza shop, and I will tip them, even though I'm picking it up. I'll tip them, like an 18%, 20% tip, depending on the size and whatnot. Always, even though I'm doing carry out, I'll leave it. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, we cook at home and whatnot, except for that. So, I haven't been to a restaurant. My God, truthfully, other than the pizza shop, I probably haven't eaten out at a restaurant in at least, it definitely goes back way before COVID. Like that's how long,
it's been. Well, that's not true. I mean, I ate at a restaurant when I was in Phoenix with everybody. And I was at a restaurant the other day with Bruce and Greg, our DP for Billy. So that's not true. I have, but yeah, no, it's the tips are are built into it.
Plus, I will say this, and I don't mean this to be disrespectful to anyone who's a waiter or waitress that's watching us tonight, but truthfully, service is like has gone to shit. I'm just gonna be real. I think that was the last time I went out to eat, and I was just like, I could have just done this and yelled at myself at home. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Not really yell, but just the attitude that, and I just remember I might have been with my, in fact, I was with my dad. It was when my father came down to visit with his wife, and we went out to eat. And I just remember jokingly said to my dad, I said, I could have done this at home and gave myself the same fucking attitude that I'm getting right now. Yeah. We didn't do anything. You know what I mean? It was just someone who was just
having a bad day.
Obviously people
something.
have bad day, and I get it, and whatnot. But and then you just see a lot of this stuff that just surfaces up online through TikTok videos that show up on YouTube and stuff. And I'm just like, I'll just eat at home.
But here's the crazy thing. Here's the crazy thing. So because we have, like I always like to say, because we have pocket computers in our pocket, because, yes, they're phones. We call them phones, but how often do we actually use the phone part of it?
True.
Everybody's got a camera.
Me and her use it. We're old school. We talk.
Great. Love it.
Can't. Yeah.
Love it. But here's the thing is that everybody's got a camera in their pocket. Well, all the shit that you see online, like all the restaurant fights and the TikTok videos of weird people or people getting angry, or, you see like these, the Karens of the world and the this and like all those crazy videos of crazy shit happening in public didn't just start when cell phones with cameras came around. It's always been it's always been like that. It's just nobody had a fucking camera to capture it. Do you know what I mean?
That's right.
It's like
society's always been fucking batshit crazy.
Exactly.
We're seeing what we're seeing what we were sheltered from growing up in the 80s and 90s. But this shit existed. People talk about like, this never happened in the 80s and 90s. Like, bro, this very much happened in the 80s and 90s.
People have always flipped out at restaurants or in coffee shops or whatever the case. I mean, listen, is there a generation that is coming up that is more entitled, self-centered? Sure. Yes, absolutely. I'm not saying that, and there's more people in the world and society has changed and gotten angrier because of social media and people are more depressed than they've ever been. 100%. Like those are factors that you have to include in that. But it's not like it was a hunky-dory world. I mean, it's not like dash cam, like, like think of the crazy shit that dash cams, pick up. Well, that shit was always there. Just nobody had a dash cam to pick it up. You had to, witness it and then go home and just tell your friends about it. But you didn't have it on camera. And now there's a platform where people can see all this crazy shit. People flipping out and throwing fucking, stuff at cashiers
right. I think you would agree though. There are certain things that have happened in the recent years that did not happen. Like, the youth, breaking into businesses and looting it and shit like that. Well, that seems to become an everyday occurrence out in California, especially that state. So we never saw that. Now, as far as like gun violence, and it was just as bad in the 80s and 90s, man. It was if not even worse in the 80s and 90s. Shit, the 70s. Get the fuck out of here, man. Yeah. If you ever watch documentaries on the 70s was a fucking violent decade, right? And a lot of shit was going on, back then. So we've seen all this shit before, but to piggyback off of what you said, because it's so true, we were sheltered. We didn't have social media. I wasn't picking up a newspaper and reading what was going on in the world. I was hanging out with my friends or going off with my girlfriend somewhere or whatever, you know what I mean? But because social media now has shrunk the world and it's become a smaller place, we see all this shit. So we're like, oh my God, this was never, no, it was like this. We just, we weren't exposed to it.
That's it. Yep, exactly. Oliver Mercer sends in £5. It says, have you seen Ridley Scott's trailer for Napoleon with Joaquin Phoenix? It looks pretty decent. I have seen it. Actually looks good. Yeah, it looks good. Looks like a typical, grand scale Ridley Scott movie. I hope it's good. Where Nomad has gone before sends in $8. Says, hi, Dave. I forgot to ask you when I met you last week, have you ever had problems with some brands of water not lubricating your voice for work? No, I never have. I never, ever have. Water's wet. and it will do, I don't know. Is there some drier waters than others? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Is that all the super chats? Oh, wait, no, here we go. Nighttime sends in a $10 super chat and says, Brazilian theatrical version of Halloween 2007 was cut by 26 minutes to secure a 14-year old certificate. So it's a PG-13 version of Halloween 2007. It apparently plays out like the original 1978. Interesting. I didn't know that. I have not seen that.
Your Halloween fact for the day.
Your Halloween fact for the day, ladies and gentlemen. Halloween fact for the day. When I was at the Mad Monster convention for Dylan's New Nightmare, I met Dick Warlock.
You met the Dick.
I met the Dick. And
is the Dick as short as I think it is?
You know, it's funny. He's probably about my height. I mean, I'm 5'8", so he's. Okay. I think he's either 5. I mean, I think he was 5'9" back in the day, and I think maybe he shrunk a little bit in his old age. I'm not sure, but I didn't stand, like I wasn't next to him. So what happened is that I was at the table. So I was sitting beside Miko, and Miko was signing, and I was beside him, and I was talking. My back was to the floor. And Cecil from the horror show was like, Dave, you have a visitor. And I turn around. They had sent him over. So on the Friday night, I was on the floor at the table getting made up into Freddy. Nora Hewitt and her wife, Rachel. It took 4 hours. They put me in the makeup. And Tom Atkins, who was also across the man, the myth, floor. The legend. Tom Atkins. Both Tom Atkins and Dick Warlock were sitting beside each other, two separate tables. Were watching me get put into this makeup and were like pointing at me and eyeing me. And I was like doing this to them. I'm going to fucking kill you. And they're just like, oh my God. But it was hilarious. It was amazing. So much so that Tom Atkins had to come over and get a photo with me. It was awesome. The softest hands, Mr. Tom Atkins has the softest hands. Anyway,
he needs it for the ladies, man.
He does. He needs it for the ladies, even at 83 or whatever he is. That's so right. I turn around. So on the Saturday, Dick Warlock, I guess, had a bit of, a lull at his table. He comes over and he's talking to Cecil and about sort of, all the shenanigans that was going on at our table, because we had Ron Sloan, who was Junior in Friday the 13th, Part 5. We had him and Vince DeSanti at one table. Then we had Miko and me at a table. And then we had the rest of the horror show at another 2 tables. And so we were taking up like 5 or 6 tables. So he could see all the stuff going on and the Freddy and all this. What the hell's going on? So Dick Warlock comes over on the Saturday to shoot the shit with Cecil. And Cecil's like, well, who's a real big Halloween 2 fan is that guy sitting right there. I didn't know this. I didn't hear this. I had my back turned. I was talking. I don't know who I was talking to. And so Cecil says, Dave, you have, or was it Robert? It might have been Robert from the horror show, or, the two of them were like, Dave, you have a visitor. And so I turn around and there's Dick Warlock standing there. He's got a hat on. He's got his jeans on and he's there and he's like, can I have your autograph? It's just a line he said, and he shakes my hand. Did you
flip it on him and Uno reverse him and be like, no, can I have yours?
No, I didn't. No, but it was funny. Hannah, and I just grabbed his hand. I said, Dick, I just started laughing because I wasn't expecting to see Dick Warlock standing there, right? There's a photo. I posted the photo on social media. And so we shot the shit for about 5 minutes, but not about Halloween, not about his career, about me as Freddy. He was very interested in what was going on as Freddy, because he was like, I was sitting back there and I saw you getting put in the makeup and, what's going on? Like, what is this all about? So I was like, oh, well, this is Dylan's New Nightmare. It's a, fan film. We got Miko Hughes and I was being put into Freddy. And that's the conversation we had. And to be honest, he was probably thankful to have a conversation that didn't have anything to do with Halloween, because he probably had like 900 of them, throughout the weekend. So we did not talk Halloween once. I did say to him that I was a big fan and that it was an honor to meet him and, thank you for, popping over and he was like, oh yeah, no problem. But we didn't talk Halloween Michael Myers at all. He was focused and locked in on very much interested in what I was doing there. And so that was a little surreal and really cool. And a sweetheart of a guy. He's a legend, man. He's a legendary Michael Myers. Yes, absolutely 100%. But he's a legendary stunt actor. I mean, he was in the cage pretending to be Hooper in Jaws. That was him. You know what I mean? He was Kurt Russell's stunt stunt double for years. you know? And of course, he was the guy that, speaking of Halloween, he was the cop that drove into Ben Tramer in Halloween 2 and hit the thing and the explosion and all that kind of stuff. And Dick Warlock's been around. He's not just, you know, he's not just, yes, he is Michael Myers Halloween 2, but there's so many other things, you know, and meeting him was, you know, it's kind of like meeting, you know, Dean Cundy. It's like, yes, Dean Cundy, absolutely. Halloween 2 for sure. But Escape from New York, The Fog, Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Jurassic Park. I mean, Dean Cundy's a legendary cinematographer. You can take Halloween off his resume. You can take Halloween and Halloween 2 and Halloween 3, because I think he shot 3. You can take those 3 movies off his resume. Did he do 3? I think he did 3. But anyway, you can take the Halloween films off his resume, and he's still got The Fog, Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future 3, Psycho 2, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Jurassic Park, Apollo 13. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? Like, holy shit, you know? So, yeah, meeting Dick Warlock was awesome. But it was just so funny.
You met Robert, too, Englund.
I
did see that.
We did, yes. Yeah. So we did meet him, but it wasn't... Listen... Robert Englund is in that environment, you know, at a Mad Monster horror specific convention. Robert Englund is the Beatles. He's God. He is fucking. I mean, there's like a halo and like white light follows him everywhere. So we were on the Saturday. Cecil had, because obviously Cecil knows the event organizers. We have Miko with us, obviously. So thanks to, you know, a bit of cachet there, we were able to get our photo with Robert, sort of skip most of the line and get in fairly quickly. The problem is that there's no time for pleasantries. There's no time. They even say that. And I totally understand. And they have to. Honest to goodness, when Miko and I and Cecil were walking down the hall to go to the photo op, we're passing by a gigantic line. It is a line that's down a hall, around the corner, through a room, up a stairs, down here. It literally, there's like 2,500 people in this line, if not more. And it's like, is this his line? Yes, this is the line for Robert Englund. Oh my God. Like, there's no time. And they say that when you get into a certain room, the room that you're just about to go into, the guy, he stands on the table, and I'm paraphrasing, but he says, now listen, everybody. There's like, you know, 200 people in the room, right? He says, now listen, you're in and you're out. He says, we do not have time for pleasantries. We do not have time for you to say, oh, Mr. Englund. Don't have time for that. If it looks like we're being mean and we're telling you to get the fuck out, it's because we are. But we love you. We love you. We sincerely love you. But if it looks like we're being mean, it's because we are. We don't have time. They've done this before. They know how this goes. It's not personal. There's too many people. And if everybody took 5 minutes, and they know Robert Englund likes to talk, like me, right? So if everybody took 5 minutes, they'd be there till next June. Like, I mean, it's too much. So unfortunately,
did he even recognize Miko?
Well, he did, because what happened is that, so it's the 3 of us. We walk in. He acknowledged us, like he saw that there was 3 of us there, and you know, we all said, you know, hi, Robert. He's like, hey, you know, I think he said like, you know, hey, fellas, you know, and Cecil was like, you remember Miko? And he's like, oh yeah, Miko, what's going on? And he says, are you still acting? And blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, yeah, you know, I am. We just did this little thing that we're doing. He's like, oh, that's kind of cool. But then it's like, okay, guys, ready? Here we go. Okay. And 3, 2, 1. Great. Thank you. Okay. Next. Like, it's literally 15, 20 seconds. And they have to do that. Because they got like 3,000 people
Makes
still
sense.
ready to go. And so there wasn't any time to say, oh, by the way, we're doing this thing. I mean, there's just no time. I mean, Robert doesn't know who the fuck I am. He wouldn't be able to recognize me if I walked into the room. He doesn't know. He saw 5,000 other people that day. No idea. There was no time for it. Nothing. It is in, out, in, out. And if, for those of you that are watching, if you've ever been in that scenario, you know that that's what it is, but it has to be like that. It has to. It's not the environment to be like, oh, by the way, you know what I'm saying? It's not the environment for that. You can barely do that at his table because you've got 400 other people behind you who are paying, who are waiting to see him and get his autograph. You know, you might be able to have a 30-second conversation at his table as he's signing. But he's a fucking rock star,
any
man.
recognizable final girls there that I would know?
Well, Kim Myers, who was in Elm Street 2, of course, who played Lisa in A Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Okay.
Both Kim Myers and...
I didn't know her name, but I know the character.
Both Kim Myers and Mark Patton were there. Actually, when we were on our way to Robert's photo op, it just so happened we're walking down the hall, and I think Mark Patton and Kim had come out of like an alcove or something, and they just ended up right in front of us. And I don't know where they were going, but they were walking, and Miko and Mark sort of hugged and said, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" Whatever. I didn't have time to introduce myself or anything. It was just, it was one of those things where you're just kind of like, "Oh, that's so-and-so," but I don't have time because we got, it was one of those things. And, but that was cool, to be able to at least see them and whatnot. But there was nothing that was said. I mean, I didn't say anything to them because we were so busy and focused on where we needed to be because we were on a time crunch. Yeah. And but I'm trying to think who else was there. Obviously, Dick Warlock, Tom Atkins, Kane Hodder was there, Robert Englund, David Howard Thornton, who played, obviously, Art the Clown. He was there. There was a bunch of other people that were there. The little girl that was Megan, she was there. I think she just signed actually with Sean. I think Sean was there. Sean Clark was there. It was great to see Sean. Yeah. It was great to see Sean. And he actually spent a lot of time in our area because he represents Megan. Megan. Her name's not Megan, but the girl that played Megan. He represents her and Tom Atkins and Dick Warlock, and they were sort of like in like an L shape, like right across from us. So Sean was kind of, I think he had other people there too. But because I think he represents David Howard Thornton as well. And he was not too far down. I don't know if he represents Kane. Maybe he does represent Kane as well. Anyway, and he was on that side as well. So he spent a lot of time in our area. And it was great to see Sean, of course. I love Sean. He's fantastic. Yeah, it was just all in all, it was a fun weekend, a great experience. The premiere went well, and people seem to really like my take as Freddy. So we'll see what happens when the movie releases at the end of August. But yeah, no, I met the Dick. I met the Dick, ladies and gentlemen. I met the Dick. Have I got all the super chats? Let me see here. I think I've got all the super chats. I'm not sure. I think I have. Any good horror movies you've seen lately?
I was trying to think of that before the stream tonight. Like, what
horror movies have I seen?
Well, I mean, because it's summertime, I did around the 4th of July, I did Jaws, like I typically do, Jaws 1 and 2. I gotta tell you, man, the Jaws 2, look, it's
good
first
stuff.
of all, you're never gonna, I mean, like to even like, I hate the conversations with people who are like getting to Jaws topics. It's like, it's never going to be as good as the original. It's like, no shit, Sherlock. Like the original is arguably one of the greatest films of all time, but having said that, for a sequel, it holds its own. It's basically like a slasher in the ocean. You got defenseless teenagers in an isolated area with this monster that's, killing it. In fact, some people have even suggested to me to actually read the book, that the book is actually a bit darker and that people feel that they should have gone more the book approach with the film and whatnot. So I may do that here and see if I can get myself a copy of Jaws 2. But look, I mean, obviously you're never gonna touch the original. Yeah. But for a sequel, and all things considered, with Roy and hearing how he was not happy about Jaws 2, you couldn't tell. He was a straight up performer and class act, obviously, all the way through and through. There was a channel here recently because it was popping up on my YouTube a lot. A guy who was interviewing because Jaws 2 just celebrated its 45th, right? 45th anniversary. 1, 2, 3, 4, 45th
last year.
So yeah, he had all the casts on there, and they spoke very highly.
45th this year.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And I didn't watch them all. I watched the girl who played Tina. I watched our buddy, the sheriff, the deputy, who's also the dentist in Halloween 2.
That's right. Yeah, Hendrix.
And I forgot who else did I watch. But anyways, the point is that they all spoke very highly of Roy, you know, even though there was problems, that he was just always a professional.
Yeah.
He never, you know, treated anyone bad.
Yeah, Jaws 2 is a great sequel. It's the perfect example of a sequel that is not as good as the original, but it doesn't have to be. But it's still a great movie on its own.
Yep.
On its own. And no, I love Jaws 2. I do. Speaking of horror movies, Insidious 5, The Red Door, is out right now. Have you seen? Yeah.
I'm so out of touch, bro.
I know it's
like,
it's
I didn't even see it in the. Maybe I did, and I just didn't pay attention.
It's kind of come and gone with very little fanfare. It doesn't have great reviews
because I feel bad for what's his name.
Well, here's the thing that is really disappointing. So, okay, let's look at this realistically. How many fifth installments in horror franchises can you point to that say are great? Right?
Mission Impossible. That's about it.
No. In horror franchises.
Horror. Yeah, none.
In horror franchises. How many fifth installments in horror franchises can you say are great? Not many. Very few. So the fact that it's not great, according to the critics and some of the, you know, the fans that have seen it, that think it's a little kind of, you know, it's kind of meh, right? Okay. I haven't seen it yet.
I was rooting for him too. I'm drawing a blank.
Patrick Wilson.
Patrick Wilson. Yeah.
I am too. But okay, let's say, now I haven't seen it, you haven't seen it, but let's go with the general consensus, which is it's meh. Okay. Well, that's not surprising because it's a fifth installment in a horror franchise. Okay. But what's so disappointing is the fact that it's Patrick Wilson's directorial debut. Okay. But what's even more disappointing is that the Lambert family is back. And it's disappointing to have Patrick Wilson, Rose Byrne, and the kid that played, what was his name?
The original kid.
Josh, whatever his name was. Can't remember now.
Something. Yeah, I remember him.
Something like that.
Yeah.
The actor that played that kid is the same actor.
Same actor, yeah.
Now he's just like 24 years old or whatever. And so it's just like, that's the, like Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson in the Conjuring universe, the Lamberts are the heart of the story. I mean, it began with them in the first Insidious, which I still think is a terrific modern day, you know, horror film. It gets overshadowed by The Conjuring, but that first Insidious I think is fantastic. I think
they kind of came out close, right?
Well, within 3 years of each other.
Yeah.
But I think Insidious 2 is good. I don't think it's as good as the first one, but it's still James Wan, and I think it's a decent, you know, it's good. And funny enough, 3 is actually not bad because Lee Winnell directed it. And Lee Winnell is James Wan's right-hand man. He did The Invisible Man and all that. It's not as good as, it's better than it had any right to be. And I never saw The Last Key or The Skull Key or whatever the hell the fourth one's called. But it's just disappointing because it was so nice to know that they were going back to the Lamberts, because you know, I want to see that family again. You know, they weren't in part 3. They weren't in part 4. You know, I want to see that family again. It's like taking, you know, Stephen and Diane, Poltergeist, right? Is
Poltergeist.
That right?
Yeah,
Stephen and Diane?
Yeah. You're right.
It's like when they weren't
Taking
in part 3. You lose something, right? It's that family dynamic, that heart. Even though Carol Ann was in it, you kind of lose it. So it was nice to see that and to know that it's kind of just, it's like, oh, that's too bad. That's too bad. Because I'm a big fan of that first Insidious. I think is dare I say it, maybe even underrated. I don't know.
No, it's good. You know what though? Because I did watch. I sucked it up, and I even watched Jaws 3 and Jaws 4 because it's on Peacock. Here's what I'm going to say. Jaws 3 that's in the trash can. Jaws 4 had the potential to be really good. And I'll tell you why. Okay. The opening of Sean's death is like a shocker. Like
it's
you're not expecting Sean to go. Like,
I agree with
holy
that.
Fuck.
And the carolers, the Christmas carolers and stuff.
Yeah. Like the whole sequence is like, fuck.
Yeah, it's good
this
stuff.
is like, I forget how like this is a really good kill. Like
Yeah.
it's probably one of the best Jaws kills. Like if you were to rank Jaws kills, you could put it in as a top 10, top 5, whatever. It's a very gut-wrenching kill. Now, what I liked and I thought about it is they should have stayed in Amity. They never should have left, because that's a familiar place, obviously, because they left Amity in 3 and it just was, 3 is 3, right?
Yeah.
But you're bringing us back to familiar territory. I didn't even realize in the beginning, after Sean's death and the funeral, that Alex Kittner's mom is there in the house, and because she picks up Mike's daughter and is all like, hey.
Yeah.
And one of the Townsy people is also in the beginning. So familiar faces from the first 2 Jaws films. If they had stayed in Amity and just, Mike relocates and he's there to take care of his mom, the psychological part of this the story they were telling of how she felt that the shark came for Sean and the family is very deep. Now, you as the viewers and everyone else knows, like, sharks don't take shit personal.
That's right.
But to her, she thinks it is personal.
Right.
They could have played, rather than making it so obvious that, like, the shark follows her all the way down to the Bahamas.
That's the problem with Jaws 4.
That's the fucking problem right there.
That's the problem.
But if they stayed in Amity and you played off of the psychological fear now that she feels that this is a personal attack, because even though it didn't kill Brody or Martin, Martin ultimately, they played off of like it took his life. He had a heart attack, whatever, you could have played off of the psychological fear factor and stayed there. Hell, you could have even, if Richard Dreyfuss wanted to, bring that character back, because Mike and him ended up being basically the same type of career, right?
Yeah.
Marine biologist or whatever, or something like that.
Yeah.
So you could have even brought Dreyfuss, maybe, if he wanted to, because they're dealing with another shark problem in Amity. And I think had they stayed there, obviously you couldn't, you do the kill in the wintertime, and this is getting into a what if video now. You do the kill in the wintertime.
I was just going to say, maybe we should do a what if video on this.
But you have to, you do have to allow some time to go by and get to summer, because how you're going to get people in the water and attacks and stuff like that.
Yes.
Like, no one's swimming in Martha's Vineyard in the winter. I can tell you that.
That's true.
But they were close. And I started thinking about that after watching. I was like, had they just stayed in Amity and they played on the fear factor that Mrs. Brody was going through, is it Ellen, or Ellen? Ellen. Yeah. That's a real thing, psychological real thing that they could have really played off of, while everyone else is like, Mom, or Michael's like, Mom, sharks don't do, this is not, he's not, going after you, and
See,
whatnot.
Sorry, I'm just going to say, I could not agree with you more. Where Jaws 4 fails and is a catastrophic failure and ends up being a piece of shit is not only does the shark roar, which is like, what the fuck is going on here? And the effect of the bow or the stern. I always get the bow. Is that the front of the boat? The bow is the front. Yeah, that's right. With the wooden, it goes into awful effect. I mean, just it's practical. It's just awful. Listen, Jaws 4 is a piece of crap. But to your point, there was a lot of potential there.
That could have been decent.
Instead of actually making a movie about a shark that took it personally, okay, which is essentially what they did.
Pretty much.
Make it a psychological horror film about the residual effects that Ellen is feeling, especially now of the death of not just
her son.
Right, of not just Martin, thank you, but of Sean as well. Because look, there's a line in There's a line in Jaws 4. There's a line in Jaws 4 that people always laugh at, and it always perplexes me that they take it so literally. And the line is when Ellen is talking to Michael, I believe, and she says, he's like, Mom, Dad died of a heart attack or something. And she's like, it was the fear. It was the fear that killed him. And even as a young kid, I always understood, I understood not to take that literally. It's not like Martin was getting up in the morning and going, what if the shark's going to get me today? And he goes outside. He's like, what if the shark's going to get me today? And then he goes on a boat or something to get something. What if the shark's I mean, that's not what that line means.
We already knew as fans, we already knew Martin's fear of the water. That was already established in the first two.
Exactly. And so it doesn't mean literally that some ambiguous feeling called fear, something you can't measure, a feeling killed him. That's not what that means. That's not what that means. She's talking about the psychological residual effects of everything that he had been through. And maybe he was worried, and maybe, he was suffering from PTSD, and maybe he didn't, he was having some nightmares, or he didn't go to get help. It wasn't.
Or you keep it simple. He died of a heart attack.
No, he did die of a heart attack.
Right.
Michael is correct. Michael is absolutely correct. But Ellen is because she's been through shit too, and and now it's getting inside her head. She thinks it's the fear that killed. Listen, could it have been the PTSD that wasn't diagnosed properly that he had for the last 10 years, or could it have been that and the fact that he ate like shit and his arteries were clogged, or whatever? I mean, he did die of a heart attack. Michael is correct. That is true. But Ellen, because of the psychological state that she's in, she's adding that extra layer where it's like, it's the fear. It's the fear that killed him. And Michael's like, Mom, like, like, you know what I mean? But people always laugh at that. I'm like, it's not to be taken. Come on, guys. Clearly you can read the symbolism of what the writer was trying to say. Anyway, that being said, that goes into your point about how if you played off of that, right, the psychological residual effects, the death of Martin, the death of Sean, right? Now,
being attacked by a shark,
which only helps to perpetuate the unnecessary
you play
fear.
off of that. Right.
Yes,
you play off of that.
Exactly. It helps to perpetuate the unnecessary fear. It's the last thing that any psychologist would want, because it'd be like, oh God, no. That like now she's going to think that she's right. Right. She's going to think.
If you stayed in Amity, that works so well.
Oh,
but when you go to the Bahamas and the shark is,
and the shark's there, waters that great white sharks don't go to.
Right. Beyond, the scientific statement that it's true.
Yeah, exactly.
And you could have had Jeff, the deputy. He could have been the chief, and maybe he feels like he failed. You know what I mean? Maybe you have him maybe at the beginning you have him tell Sean to go get the thing out of the water, and he feels like he let down Martin. You know what I mean? There was so much you could have played in that in emotionally with Jaws 4 that you really could have brought it home and actually ended on a. Look, you're never going to compete with the original, but at least you could have redeemed yourself from 3 and ended on okay, we ended on a decent note.
Yeah,
right?
You make it, and it's something too that, listen, you open the movie right now with the death of Sean, but maybe you don't do that. Like maybe with the idea that we're talking about, that happens maybe a bit later, like maybe the end of
25 minutes in.
Yeah, like maybe the end of the first act, and then you see Ellen just lose it, right? So maybe we're introduced to Ellen earlier, and maybe we're learning about Martin more, and all that kind of stuff.
What's been going on?
We see the relationship between Mike, Sean, and Ellen, and then the shark, and it's like, oh my God. You know what I'm saying? I just want to say, Fast Forward says, Dave, are you still taking super chats? I can't get mine through. Keep getting error message. Oh, yes, I am.
YouTube
of course, it must be. I would refresh the page and see if it can, and see if that works. But yeah, no, I absolutely am. Super chats to support the channel are always welcome and appreciated. So yeah, man, totally. That was, and you're right. Keep it at Amityville and open it at like Christmas time. Dude, I wonder. Now, I know that obviously nobody is swimming in the winter, but I wonder if there would be a way to write this story and keep
tough.
It would be tough.
Because you got to get victims in the water. That's the key thing.
100%. But that important issue aside, imagine the dreariness, the cloudy days. Maybe you open the movie in the fall or something. Do you know what I mean? And you see it's that season change, and as long as you can crack the code of how to make it believable, get people in the water. I don't mean swimming, but maybe, boaters or, divers have to go in for some reason, or, there are victims for sure, but it's really a film that is, it's a psychological horror thriller. And it can be really fucking
based around
scary.
Ellen's fear of what, she feels it's personal while everybody else, that's what I'm saying. If it was good enough and written well enough, you possibly could have gotten Richard Dreyfuss to come back, even as a small part to work off of with Mike, as they're both oceanographers or marine bio. I can't remember what it is now, but whatever. They both are in the ocean.
But marine biology. Yeah, same. Yeah,
marine bio was saying whatever, so they're working together, and Mike's having to explain to Hooper now, like, mom thinks this is like, and they're trying to convince her that sharks don't take shit, but she feels it. And like, there was a dream sequence in Jaws 4 where she's swimming and the shark attacks her. Right. So you can still do stuff like that.
Yep, for sure.
Whereas like, you're the audience thinking like, oh shit, is she getting attacked? And then you realize it's only a dream.
Right.
That again holds a lot of weight to the story, but the whole Bahamas thing, it just kills
I know, but you can still make it about Ellen facing her fears.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's, that is ultimately what Jaws 4 at the end is. She faces her fears, and there's that cutting back and forth between, smile, you son of a bitch, and, her husband. I get all that, and that's cute, and that's nice. But it's just the whole, like the Bahamas, and I love Michael Caine, but I'd get him out of there. I don't even.
Or even what's his name, who plays Mike in Jaws 4?
Yeah, Lance Guest.
Lance Guest. Yeah.
Jimmy from Halloween 2.
Jimmy!
Jimmy!
We saw where Jimmy went to. Jimmy didn't die.
He didn't die. He became a marine biologist, and he went to the Bahamas.
You notice you're starting to see there's a bit of family connection between the Jaws and Halloween franchise.
There is 100%. But yeah, that's what they should have done. Yeah, that's what they should have done.
Now at this point, I wouldn't even, if you were ever going to toy with the idea of revisiting it, we've talked about it at length. You do the 1917 story. At this point, you don't do anything related to the first two films. If you want to give it a fresh take, because the 1917 story that it's based on is fucking crazy enough as it is. If you've never watched it, YouTube it, watch it. It's fucking nuts that this actually took place. Yeah. Because it seems like it's right out of the Jaws, which, well, obviously I think that's where Peter Benchley got his idea, right? It's from the 1970s. The right to write the novel.
Yes. I thought you were talking about the Indianapolis. No, it's no. The Jersey one.
The Jersey one, yeah. Because they even reference it in the movie. So it kind of ties it together. And the other thing that I would do, even though it is obviously a pain in the ass, is if you were to do it, set it then for starters, make it a period piece, and it's got to be Bruce. It's got to look like Bruce. It's you cannot do, like, I watched Meg. That was another new one here recently that I watched during my Shark Week at the beginning of July.
Shark Week.
And look, I like Jason Statham. He's a good action actor.
Yeah. The Meg's a monster movie. It's a
monster movie, but the shark just looked, I don't know. Nothing has looked as good since the first two Jaws films.
Look, dude, is it me? Is it me? Is it our rose-colored 44-year-old glasses? Or does the shark in Jaws 1 and 2 both still to this day, to me, look like real sharks?
Yeah, they're the best. They're the best as far as like what you would want from your shark, if you're doing a shark movie. Deep Blue Sea, no.
There's a couple of animatronics in Deep Blue Sea that weren't bad.
That are good, yes, I agree. But Meg, I just watched that. I was just like, man, like, good story, fun story, but the Meg just... No, I don't. And obviously you're not going to build, a Bruce-like shark for Meg because it's fucking huge. Yeah. But I think if you were to do it, if you were to go back into the Jaws franchise, you got to do it like the way Spielberg did it with Bruce. I mean, you really have, like, I don't see another way to make to make it feel like you're watching a Jaws movie. Yeah. That's what you have to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and you could do it even better now with today's technologies and all that kind of stuff. But practical, it's just the problem I find with sharks, and some movies are better than others, but the problem ultimately with CGI sharks is they look like CGI sharks. They look animated. They look like CGI sharks, and they move too fast, or they just don't look like real sharks. When I see Bruce the shark, when I see him come out of the when he comes right out of the water onto the back of the boat, I mean, obviously, okay, but when you see him in, like when he goes into the pond, and that guy's like, hey, you guys okay over there? He's got like that, New York accent.
The shark dips into the water.
Yes, it dips. Or when he comes up and he bites that guy, he's just kind of there. The guy's trying to get back in the boat. Like, it literally looks like I'm watching a great white on Shark Week. It doesn't look fake to me. It just doesn't. Well, and primarily because it is an actual physical, practical item in that space. It's not something that's digitally added afterwards. So the way the light hits it and everything, and it just looks like a real shark to me. I've always said that. I mean, and again, maybe it's because you show that to a kid today and maybe like, fake. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm nutso. But when I watch Jaws and when I watch Jaws 2, I mean, there's certain scenes where the shark looks better than others. There's certain scenes where, maybe the shark kind of, but overall, I still think the shark looks real. I've never seen a shark movie that has convinced me beyond like the first two Jaws. I mean, the shark in Jaws 3 looks like ass, but in Jaws and Jaws 4 just looks ridiculous. But in those first two Jaws films, I will say this. I will give them credit where credit is due with regarding the shark in Jaws 4 in certain shots. It was as close as you're going to get to Bruce in the second one as you were going to get. 3 was just horseshit. They did okay in certain shots of the shark in Jaws 4. No, not the ending, but when it sounds like King Kong coming out of the water. God. Like what? Sharks do not roar. Oh, I don't know, man. It's just, but yeah. Well, listen, we've completely dissected it here, but in the future, if we ever wanted to do a what if on Jaws 4, that's Jaws, it.
Period. What if? What should they do? Where should they go?
Yeah, in that too. Yeah.
Do you got any more super chats or
no? But Fast Forward says that still not working. I don't know what's going on. Must be a YouTube thing. Either way, glad you're all back. Well, listen, one option you could do, and hey, I wouldn't mind, is you could always donate your super chat to the Indiegogo campaign. You could always go over and just donate, $5, $10, whatever it is, and then just at me here in the chat, and then I'll just read it, to you if you wanted to do that, because like I said, the Indiegogo campaign for Billy Chapter 2 is in demand right now. We're still taking donations. There's still that that Halloween epic live stream on the table if we can get to the amount that we need to get to with the Blu-rays and all that, or maybe I might I'm thinking about maybe adding another thing to help get. Hey, listen, there are 2 associate producer perks left. 2 associate producer perks left. I would love to sell those. I would love to get those complete. And there's still 4 executive producer perks left. Now that's a very high tier. But there's 2 associates left. We've sold 13. There's 2 left. So, just a reminder for people that, I will be, promoting it, from time to time, and cause, it is still there. It's in demand. And obviously if we can continue to raise, that's only going to make our production, better and easier, to have more for the production budget and for marketing and for, all sorts of stuff. It's expensive making this particular film. So, just want to remind people of that. I guess I could always put the link in the chat. I haven't done that.
Oh, you know what I watched? I don't know if you've seen this or not. I watched it again. Hadn't watched it in a while because it became available also on, I think it was on Peacock. Was Willow Creek, the Bigfoot bobcat there.
Oh yeah. You keep telling me about that, but I haven't.
Good. It's for low budget, found footage, kind of taking some beats from the Blair Witch Project, but still was its own film. It's good. It's good. I kind of feel like he left me with wanting more, which is always a good thing, right?
Yeah, Willow Creek. It's called.
I think it's called.
I gotta watch that.
Yeah, it's on Peacock. I think it's called Willow Creek. Anyways, I watched that as well too again. Yeah, I haven't really, as far as like any other horror stuff, no.
Yeah. Hey, Edward Nito. Edward Nito, my Godzilla brother from another mother, who I met at the convention.
Very cool.
Yeah, he drove up from San Diego with his brother, so it was very nice to finally put a face to Edward Nito's name and not just the Godzilla 1985 avatar. Edward Nito and I are gigantic Godzilla 1985 fans. Says, Jaws has always scared me. I can feel every nerve in my spine tense when we see the POV of the shark scanning the water as he closes in on Alex Kintner. I haven't been swimming since I was 6.
There you go.
Yeah, it's such a great, I mean, what a happy accident too, right? Because Spielberg was going to show the shark more and more often. Like more of the shark, and
it's the biggest blessing in disguise ever in cinema. Because it worked. It plays to the theater of the mind, because if you did see the shark more, I don't know if it would have the same impact versus to not. It's hard to say.
I agree. No, I agree with that. It was, I mean, it's become known as like the Jaws effect, you know, and when you say that, people know what you're talking about, right? Keeping the monster, whatever that monster is, at bay, just kind of drip feeding the monster until you get to the third act. And then there's the reveal. I think it's, sorry?
I was going to say, is there any news on Halloween? Like I said, I've been so tuned out on stuff.
No, there's no news on Halloween. I mean, obviously the big news now is the SAG strike, so everything's kind of halted. I mean, nobody can do anything until that's resolved. But in terms of like Halloween news, obviously the 45th convention is happening at the end of September.
Even if there's a strike?
Yes, apparently that can still go ahead because they are not there promoting new movies. Like autograph signings and things like that can still happen. Panel Q&As might have to be axed. But as far as I know, the Halloween 45th convention is still going to go ahead at the end of September, beginning of October. So I know that's a big thing, obviously, for Halloween fans. But in terms of like the movies or shows, I haven't heard anything. I think Malek Akkad is waiting. I think he's just taking a breather. I mean, they just finished this trilogy not even a year ago. And so I've often thought, and I have no evidence to this whatsoever, but I've often thought maybe he's waiting to see how Crystal Lake does in terms of a series and whether there's if it's good and whether there's a fan base for it and a following.
We're not going to know for another year, because I thought it was coming out this year, but it's coming out next year.
It's coming out next year, and depending on how long this strike goes on, because they can't, like, if they were in the middle of shooting it right now, they would have had to have stopped.
Right. They can't do shit.
They can't do shit. And if they hadn't started shooting it yet, then depending on how long this strike goes on, if they need summer weather, if this strike goes on into the winter and they want to shoot in Jersey then they may not start shooting Crystal Lake till next year, and Crystal Lake might get pushed to 2025. It's entirely possible. I don't know how far along they are, but that's why, folks, it's so important that they reach a deal, because nobody can do anything. Everything is stopped. But anyway, I've often thought that maybe he's waiting, to see how that works. Because I just don't know what else you do with Michael Myers theatrically. I mean, yes, obviously in time they'll remake it, but I mean like right now. Like obviously I don't see a scenario.
We need a break. We need a good 10-year break.
Yeah, and I know people do a direct sequel to Halloween 4. They can't market that. I've talked to people that work at studios. They're like, well, what are we going to do? Like they can't.
For Halloween fans, internally, yes. But a studio cannot make a movie just because of even though they should make it for the fans. I get it. I get the principle behind it, because we're the ones who pay, and we're the reason why the franchise is successful. But from like you just said, it's true. You're not going to be able to succeed with marketing a Halloween, whatever you call it, direct sequel to Halloween 4. It just.
Well, that's it. That's it. And there's not, I mean, the Halloween fans will be excited. The average moviegoer will be like, what the fuck is this? I thought listen, I can't tell you how many times I will read things on not horror forums, but movie forums.
Right, in general.
The general movie going audience. And it'll be a post about Halloween Kills or even 18. I remember when 18 was on the cusp of coming out, and you and I used to talk about this too. There's lots of people that were like, "Didn't Jamie Lee Curtis die in the last one?"
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's so many people that don't understand what's going on. Like, they just don't. They don't get it. And so, no, there will never be a direct sequel to Halloween 4. At least I don't believe in theatrical sense. Maybe, depending on what Malick wants to do, he slips that into some sort of anthology series. And if there's a 47-minute episode with Danielle Harris and it's like a what if, or something like that. I mean, maybe. But
what I could see them doing, because it landed so well with the audience, even though the movie it's divided,
right?
Is if they do it and do it well, they could remake the franchise and set it in 1978 still, because of the success of what Kills did with the flashback sequence. And you just make the whole movie. And now, if you're going to redo it and set it in 1978, don't do it beat for beat like the original.
Right.
Make it your own. Come up with something new to tell. I mean, you could still have Michael kill Judith, or maybe not. Maybe Judith doesn't die. Maybe Judith.
I still think they should do our idea.
Or that you could do, like, go back to the the black and white version would be cool. But I'm just saying, from the overall perspective, if you wanted to, how do you tell it from a fresh perspective?
Right.
You don't kill Judith off, you keep her alive. And now that is the motivation that's driving Michael to kill his, whatever it is that's, we don't know, but he's motivated to kill his sister for whatever fucking reason.
Right.
We've never seen Judith's story. She's a footprint that we see at the beginning of the movie, and then that's it.
Yeah.
But her legacy does carry throughout the franchise because she's always talked about. So I'm thinking that, all right, well, we've never been down this road before. So if you're going to reboot, either do our idea of what we talked about, like a noir type 50s style black and white Halloween, which would be really fucking cool. But if not, because the studios can't think creatively like that, if you go and do a 1978 soft whatever reboot, however you want to do it, you to retell it from the same perspective. Michael, young boy, kills Judith, hospital, escapes, kills babysitters, goes after Laurie Strode. Well, we've already seen that story.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I don't need to see that again. If you're going to stick it in 1978 or the 70s, could be 77, it doesn't have to be 78. If you stick it in the 70s, small town, whatever, I would really focus on Judith being the lead in this one. You can still bring in, a Laurie Strode character. She could be friends with Judith.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You could still bring in Annie. You could still bring in Linda and all that stuff like that. Those types of characters that fans know. But I really would center the film on Judith and her brother just going batshit crazy on Halloween night.
Yeah.
You just leave it alone and do the TV series like Season of the Witch.
I was just going to say, well, you could do that. What I want to see is an anthology. If there's one thing that Halloween Ends proved to me, is that I think there could be viability and success in a Halloween anthology series.
Yeah.
Obviously the Corey Cunningham story is a little too late to, make into a season or an episode.
I just wish they didn't do it in Michael's finale film.
I agree. I agree.
It's a great idea. I agree. Like, finish telling the story you wanted to tell initially, which probably would have been the best route. And then you kind of do a passing of the torch moment where we're going now down this road with this individual in another town named Corey Cunningham, and he just goes batshit crazy. Yeah. You don't have him don the mask or anything like that.
I agree.
His clown costume or his clown mask that he was wearing was creepy enough.
Yep.
The premise of the character is really good. It just was not delivered the right way.
Well, that's it. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Halloween Ends was pretty good until Michael showed up, ironically.
Michael ruined his own movie.
Michael ruined the movie, because like, imagine that. Like, imagine if Halloween Ends was the first episode or the first season of a Halloween anthology series called Haddonfield. Okay, let's just say that. I mean, you can call it whatever the fuck you want, but for the sake of this, show right now, let's call it that. Yeah, but that's what. So season 1 is you sign Jamie Lee Curtis to be on board. You sign Andy Matichak to be on board. You get passing
of the torch type scenario,
for sure.
right?
But what you see in Halloween Ends is actually the first season or whatever of this anthology. It's about, you don't, as I've said 1,000 times, you don't need Michael Myers. You can still deliver the same social commentary and symbolism and cinematic language and layers and the psychology. You can still deliver that without Michael Myers. Why? Because what is the story about? It's about a kid who lives in Haddonfield, who's babysitting, who accidentally kills this kid. They think it's on purpose. He's tried. He's acquitted. The town is already on edge because of the Michael shit. They don't believe the kid. And ironically, and this is all in Halloween Ends anyway, but the ironic part about it is that it isn't Michael grabbing the kid with some sort of transfer of essence and looking deep into his eyes like they're going to make love. You don't need that. You don't need that. What happens to Corey is it's the psychological residual effects of the bullying from the town and his, what he thought were friends, and yes, the band. I've never met bullied band, but anyway, whatever, right? We see that over the course of like season 1. That's what it is. And not only so, now you don't have 90 minutes, you have 8 hours. You have 8 hours to build that story, and it takes place in Haddonfield, and there's Easter eggs, and Jamie Lee Curtis is in the first season, and Annie Matichak's in the first season, and you can still have Jamie Lee Curtis being like, I don't want you to be with Corey because I recognize Michael Myers. That still makes sense without a Michael Myers in your movie, because it's all about the irony of a town that's trying to move on, but ironically, in bullying this this teenager, they ironically bring Michael Myers back. Not the real Michael Myers, but they create another killer. And that's great shit. That part of Halloween Ends is great.
Yeah.
And I just wish it was its own thing, because if that was what you started with an anthology, like if that was your first season, I bet you a lot of Halloween fans were like, I don't know, no Michael Myers, no Halloween. There's those people. They would watch and go, this is actually pretty good, because there are a lot of Halloween fans. And listen, there's a lot of Halloween fans that just completely hate Halloween Ends from top to bottom, no doubt about it. But there's a lot of Halloween fans that actually do like the Corey side, which goes to show you that if it's done, and you got Jamie in there, so there's that emotional, nostalgic connection, and she's still like, I don't want you to date him. I see something in him. I don't know what's going on. And it's not that he had a run-in with Michael. It's that he's falling further and further and further into depression and mental decay. He's getting angrier and angrier and angrier, and then he snaps. And it's the town, and then you can explore it's not just the band he has a run in. You can explore his weird fucking relationship with his mother who likes to kiss him on the lips. You can explore other shit with friends that he has, or like a coach that he has or whatever. You can explore, he has run-ins at the supermarket or at the mall, like whatever. We watch this man fall further and further into decay, and then around maybe like episode 5 or something, like halfway through, or 6, he becomes whatever he is. He's not Michael Myers, but he's got, that scarecrow clown mask or whatever. And then of course it ends with, however it ends. And, or maybe you carry it over to season 2. I don't know. Maybe that is, but it's just, I personally, at this stage of the game, we've got, 12 or 13 Michael Myers movies. We've got the good, the bad, the ugly. Maybe I'll feel differently when 2028 rolls around and it's the 50th anniversary. But as of right now, I'm good. I don't need another Michael Myers movie for the foreseeable future. I'm good. The last thing I want to hear is, and they're making another one and they're redoing it again. And it's like, oh God. Like, I mean, how many times can we tell the same fucking, well, apparently we can tell it over and over again quite a bit. And of course I'll be there and I'll watch it and we'll talk about it on the channel. But what I would prefer is go to streaming, tell Season of the Witch, tell a Corey Cunningham kind of story, tell,
not even just Season of the Witch, from my understanding,
Charlie Bowles.
Well, from my understanding, back in the 80s, when they attempted Season of the Witch, Carpenter had a few of these lined up, different Halloween type stories. Yeah. So I, tap him and talk to him and see like, well, what were these ideas, that you wanted to do? And like you said, do it in a television series. Cause I'm the same way. Look, And I agree with what you said. You are going to have fans of 2018 kills and ends, and good for you. You know, I mean, I'm never going to watch them again unless for some odd reason you want to do a show and watch them. And I may get around to showing them to her one day, maybe not. Halloween for me, I'm good in the first 4 movies. I get what I need from the story. It's a complete story. It comes full circle, you know, with arguably the best ending with Halloween 4 in the entire franchise next to the original.
Dude, I call it, I think I coined this. I mean, maybe somebody else out there thought this, but it's the Loomis trilogy. That's what it is. And that's 1, 2, and 4.
Yep. And 3 is just always a good, fun movie to watch.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's it. I don't really I don't go into the other ones unless there's some for odd reason I need to. It's not on my watch list. You know,
I never watch Halloween 5 unless I'm watching it on the channel. I never watch 6 unless it's on the channel, or H2O unless it's on the channel, or Resurrection. Anything from 5 on, I don't watch. And
I take that back. I will, if I'm in a mood, I will watch Rob Zombie's first one.
I was just gonna say,
that is the one I will say. If I'm in a mood, if I'm in a Rob Zombie, and I get into those Rob Zombie moods where I start going through his movies and I watch them. You know, I will watch that first one. I don't usually watch the second one, but I will watch that first one. That's anything beyond 4. That would be it. And
the Hatchet Boy says, Dave's doing a 13-hour live stream watching all the Halloween films. No, I am not. But on Saturday, October the 28th, I will sit down and watch Halloween 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which is like going to be like 8 or 9 hours. I'll have like a couple of giveaways, maybe have some guests on, maybe Tony will join me. You never know. Who knows?
I said I might join for 4.
He might. I
might join for 4.
You never know.
If everything works out good, that could be one where I would join for Halloween 4.
That's it. That would be Saturday, October the 28th. So 3 days before Halloween. However, there's a stipulation. And the stipulation was we have to get to 550 Blu-rays sold. And I am willing now to combine both the Chapter 2 single Blu-ray and the double blues. Where are we right now? So the single Blu-rays, I don't have the other screen up. The single Blu-rays are sitting at... the single Blu-rays are at 125 claimed. Now there's also...
So we got a few more to go.
There's also 35 claimed of the teaser cover. I will include that as well. So there's about 150, 160 there. And then there's the double blues, which is Chapter 1 and 2 together. And we've sold 202 of those. So we're sitting at, what is that? 202 plus 100. So we're probably at about 360, 350, something like that. So, I mean, you know,
chipping away,
another 200 Blu-rays sold and I'll do it.
There you go.
Or I might, I haven't officially said this yet, but I might say, or if we sell off the remaining associate producer perks and maybe one executive producer perk or something, maybe I'll consider that a win and do it then. I'm not sure, but that will, now somebody have asked me, will you do something on that Saturday if you don't meet it? And I said, I might. I'm not going to do an 8-hour stream, I'll tell you that. But I might do, maybe Tony and I will do, we'll watch like Halloween 4 or something. You know what I mean? Or, or something like that. But I will do a epic stream to the epic Halloween stream to end all Halloween streams. Halloween 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Don't get greedy. What about 6? Hey, now don't get greedy now. Don't get greedy. You want 6? I mean, I'll have to add an executive producer book. I'm just, it's a lot of ass time. You guys get to take breaks. I'm sitting here going for 8 hours. An 8-hour stream? That's a long time. But I would be willing to do it. If we can, because again, the campaign is still, it's in demand now. So we can take donations and you can pick up perks if you haven't already, for the foreseeable future. And it all helps. Believe me, this is a more expensive film than Chapter 1 for a variety of reasons. So, anything you can continue to do, really does help. But I'll do it. I'll do it if we can get there for sure. All right, we'll take this. We're almost at 2 hours now. Holy
Yeah.
snapping crap. All right,
Time went by.
time to go bye-bye. All right, have I got all the super chats?
I think you did.
I think I did. I think I did get all the super chats. All right, well, listen, Tony, it was great having you back. It was great to be back. Our first show in a while.
We'll be back again in a couple weeks.
Yes, we'll be back again in a couple of weeks. For those of you that are just tuning in, obviously, our schedule is going to be a little inconsistent, consistent on being inconsistent over the next little bit.
Hey.
Lots of exciting, wonderful things happening in Tony's life. And but I want to thank, of course, our great moderators, Frank Riker, Tabitha Short, Darren Sands, Chris Baber, Cody Snyder, and Andrew Stevens. Thank you very much. Thank you to the Super Chat questions that came in today, of course, and some of those non-Super Chat ones that came in. But this was a lot of fun. We got on a roll. It was fun to be back, just shooting the shit, getting caught up, kind of getting our feet wet again. You know what I mean? We didn't want to bite off more than we could chew. We just kind of wanted to have a nice, kind of easy show today. And I think it was a good one. But the next time we come back, we will have a topic for sure. Tony, any last things you want to say?
No, it's good to be back, and I look forward to seeing everyone again in a couple weeks.
Sounds good. All right, folks, that'll do it for episode 190. We're closing in on 200. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.